Hello, hello, and welcome back, subscribers and new viewers, to the last Sunday speed paint of 2024, and for all of you who are new, there is a lot in store for 2025. As I mentioned in my last video, where I talked about my goals for 2025, I want to prioritize specific content properly this year because, next year, because this year, 2024 was a bundle of chaos and some success. I feel like there is a lot that I have learned, as I do every year, for both what I'm aiming for my channel to be and the behind-the-scenes stuff of how I go about producing this content for all of you to see, as well as also what I can actually put into a set amount of videos. Having 2 videos a month, plus a bunch of random YouTube shorts and community posts, I will also be posting on other social medias, such as maybe DeviantArt or Blue Sky or whatever app, generally speaking, has the most engagement for everyone else, basically what people use the most. Because at the moment, it seems like Instagram is completely dead. I haven't posted on there in years, and even when I did post consistently back to back, I didn't have nearly as much growth as everybody else could achieve for it. Not trying to compare myself to others, but just generally speaking, over time, the social medias just proved themselves for me of what worked and what didn't. I exploded on TikTok without even meaning to, because it was one of those things that, for its time, and still don't know what's going to happen to it in the near future, a lot of people would just essentially post something, and you could occasionally get on the For You page and stay on it consistently. Once you had enough people who followed you, then people would return to your content. But it also seems to be completely randomized now, so a lot of the algorithms can mess up people's kind of content where you could have like anywhere from 1,000 to 1,000,000 and somehow still receive the same minimum small engagements of 100 views, which is weird. I don't understand how these algorithms work, and a lot of people who do try to spend their entire lifetimes on it get stuck in those weird little loops. I'm not focusing on the statistics of things per se, it's just that I know that if I'm posting something and people are going to see it, that's what I'm aiming for. I want my content to be seen on platforms that people can engage on, and also isn't going to be something really obscure. Like, for instance, though the website is mostly for furry artwork, I don't expect a large portion of my audience to suddenly magically all migrate to websites like for Affinity. Because if I was to post on there, that kind of content would be very much so stereotypically drawn towards a specific, more NSFW audience. It doesn't have to be, but there's a reason why certain social media platforms and sites tend to have different engagement levels. That's why Tumblr basically disintegrated when they instantaneously were like, hey, let's remove every single NSFW type of thing, and then Twitter exploded with all of those artists for various reasons. Some people would do it for, like, general anatomy's sake, or just in general, some people have to make a living, because whether some people actually do notice this or not, certain content creators make money from certain things for a reason of having specific clients who do wish to pay for it. As for myself, I have no need for most of these websites because I just don't need to post on those platforms. It's not something that is required of me because it is stated in my do's and don'ts on my commissions and in my terms and conditions that I am not drawing something that I am not comfortable with, which would be the NSFW spicy category. The closest I get is gore, and that is a light amount of it because candy gore is what I'm most familiar with, but if some characters need to have a spooky atmosphere and maybe be wearing either a dress or a bikini or something of that category, sure, but that's the furthest it goes. This also extends to the anthropomorphic characters, or characters that, generally speaking, roughly have the shape of, like, either a very busty man or a shapely woman, but they don't actually have the bits, like a Ken and Barbie doll situation. I have no need to draw the anatomy bits in detail. My content can also fall into 2 categories. Sonic the Hedgehog style, where the characters don't need the clothes because they don't have the parts for it, or it could fall into the Zootopia category, where they may have them but they're not detailed because it's just underneath the clothing and not relevant to the story or the artwork that I intend on making for my audience. I haven't fully figured out what I mainly want to create on my channel outside of the shrinking it down from creating everything under the sun, because I even tried my hand at producing and posting video game clip content side by side as Speedpaint. When I did Slime Rancher, which was fun. When I did my Animal Crossing New Horizons Island Tour, that was fun. But then I tried Genshin Impact and other games, and I was like, ugh. I don't think I'm really the kind of channel that can post and produce this kind of stuff on a regular basis, so it's more of a once in a blue moon for fun content, if it is related to the art videos that I plan on making, because I still have tons of original character content that I want to share. The Dawn of Gale's webtoon, as soon as I finish working on the revisions, will come off of hiatus and be a main focus that I work on side by side with my YouTube videos, creating stories like Nexium, where it is a bunch of concept art and tiny stories of characters that don't actually have a set world and story created. They won't have any comics, they won't have any animatics, or stuff that is like back to back to back. It'll just be whatever I create to fill in so that I don't get burnout or art block. Other side stories that can be finished within a shorter time, such as Fatal Instinct or Embers of Hope, are more humanoid characters that have stories based on fun stuff that I made ages ago that was cringy, that I want to work on and revise to a more up-to-date, modern, kind of mature-themed setting for it, because most of it was cringy and confusing. It didn't have any story or plot that made tangible sense. It was just like, hey, these two characters interacted with each other, gasp, they're in love with each other, oh no, drama, one of them has been injured. That kind of content, kind of back and forth shenanigans. Though it is entertaining for a sort of quick fix kind of content, it's not all that I want to create. It's why when I made YouTube, Shorts, and TikTok, I wasn't expecting nearly as much engagement for it, because I don't want to just create fast 5 to 10 second content that catches the attention spans of people who might only be there for 5 seconds of a video. When I create my videos at the very least of 5 minutes all the way up to maybe 20 minutes, I create it for a reason. I have stuff that I want to actually address to my audience that I hope that for those of the audience members who do sit through it all will actually give some feedback to it, because I genuinely know that I tend to ramble a lot, I repeat myself a lot, and I'm not the greatest at reading out scripts due to my dyslexia, so if I'm reading something off of a piece of paper that I have, it's more in bullet point format, so that it's like a checklist. Once I've finished talking about a specific subject, I can move on to the next one without accidentally rambling or repeating. And I feel like for YouTube's sake of readability, or in this case listenability for my videos, it is more beneficial to the audience, because I want my content to be consumable, because I enjoy a lot of other content, and I see my channel as, would I consume this if I was a stranger looking at my own YouTube channel? That's why sometimes I cringe at some of my older videos prior to 2022, when I made a story telling of Louvel, which is one of my fantasy stories. It was very hard to listen because the audio was bad, the equipment at the time wasn't the greatest, so outside factors like that had to be taken into account. Not just is the artwork on screen good enough, but sometimes the artwork didn't have to be great to match with the energy and levels that I would produce with the content, with my voice, and even with some of the sort of lore behind it. It's the same reason why, with consistency's sake, more recently, I switched from my old character, which is now a protagonist in my Webtoons comic Vixie, to a proper persona that will be a mascot for my channel, Stencilfox, and other side characters that do have their own lore behind it connected to the channel, such as The Void, and other characters that show up as cameos and friends whose avatars I get to illustrate so that they can show up without having to have, like, a face cam. That is one thing that I don't think I will be having on my channel, is any kind of face reveals until way, way later on with further milestones for this channel, because I don't see a reason or a need to be one of those channels to ever really show my face. It's why I created my mascot in the first place, to be expressive and share to you all me through this persona that you guys get to see. And it's not the only one. I have others that are more fit for stories that fall in line with a better sort of setting. Blight is one of my vent characters that you guys may have seen sprinkled in throughout some of my stories, the more serious ones, like my story of how I had to grow up really fast because I was masking a lot of emotions when I was younger to get through some very serious situations that, as I've mentioned before and still haven't gotten around to it yet, I will be sharing more of a draw my life type of story situations that happened, but with, of course, names redacted and changed for privacy's sake, because some of this stuff will be very difficult for me to address and bring up, but I do want to share some of the stories, and some of them are more lighthearted and whimsical, such as stories of part-time jobs that I used to have, or silly shenanigans with friends, and all these kinds of fun either dreams or nightmares that I've had, akin to the Tales of Stuffies or the Domain of Luxus. A lot of this content is what I have in mind for 2025, and as I figure out my art journey and channel, it is not just a straight shot where I figure it out magically. It is sort of like an up and down, like a roller coaster, that I hope that all of you guys will be able to still enjoy, no matter what the content that I make kind of changes into, but hopefully changes for the better. With a lot of this stuff, I want to have some consistencies with my playlist this so that for new audience members, if you look at the old content, it's very clear that it is separated from the new consistent content that will be up to date. So if you're here for the original characters or the fan artwork, you can specifically zoom in and zone in on those playlists to keep up to date on it, but you will also have that variety if you're interested and curious in checking out either my original characters or that fan art, if you can relate to some of that stuff and want to talk about it. It's also why I'll be making tips and tricks and art challenges to kind of add a little bit of variety and help me to improve on my own art journey. Lastly, I do hope that you guys overall have enjoyed my content, be it that you are completely brand new or have been here since the very get-go with my old content, and overall, even if some of my stuff hasn't survived the journey from 2020 all the way to recent, there will be a lot of new content in store, and some of the old content getting revised, so some characters may not be recognizable in the same sense that they used to be, and some of my illustrations can be me working on something that I enjoy from something I'm a fan of. Whether you are a fan of it as well or not, it's something that I hope that you guys will enjoy and look forward to for 2025. Thank you all so very much for listening to the last Sunday speed paint of 2024, and I hope to see you guys for the little short New Year's celebration as we go into 2025. Stay possum, subscribblers. That's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so very much. If you have not already, don't forget to leave some likes and comments and subscribe to join the subscribblers squad. In the meantime, don't forget to check out some of my playlists, and if you would like any fan artwork featured at the end of the video in the subscribblers gallery, tag me in it. I would love to see what you guys make. And if you'd like to support my works and see more, check out my card link below, especially for the patron exclusive rewards. £2 a month, the Fennec Fox tier gets you access to secret sketches and artwork early. The Arctic Foxes, for £5 a month, you get exclusive access to videos and webtoons pages early, and the Red Foxes have the opportunity to be featured as a background character or a commission instead, and your name read out at the end of the videos just like this. Thank you so much to Frankie Jr. 13. Stay possum, subscribblers, and I'll see you real soon.